There's a woman in Okinawa who is 92 years old. Every morning, she wakes before the sun, tends the vegetables in her garden, walks to visit her neighbors, and cooks her own meals from scratch. Her mind is sharp. Her hands are steady. She laughs easily, remembers everything, and if you asked her the secret to a long and vibrant life, she would probably look at you with genuine confusion, because to her, there is no secret. There is only the way she has always lived. Japan is home to more people over the age of 100 per capita than almost anywhere on Earth. And what's remarkable isn't just that they live long, it's how they live long. Sharp, active, independent, engaged, not merely surviving into old age, but genuinely living through it, often remaining vital and capable into their 90s in a way that stuns the rest of the world. And somewhere else, someone decades younger is already slowing down, already feeling their body stiffen, their energy fade, their mind fog, already bracing for decline as though it were an inevitable schedule the body simply follows. They've been told that this is just what aging is, that the slowing, the weakening, the fading are written into the years themselves. But here's what the Japanese experience quietly suggests. Much of what we assume is simply aging may have far more to do with how we live than with the number of years alone. The way these elders stay sharp and active into their 90s doesn't come from a secret, or a supplement, or a stroke of genetic luck. It comes from a handful of everyday habits and cultural patterns, woven so deeply into daily life that the people living them don't even think of them as habits, that most of the rest of us were simply never taught. Let me say one thing, and then I won't bring it up again. I put the heart of everything on this channel into a small book, Wabi Sabi, Finding Peace in an Imperfect Life. It's linked below, if it speaks to you. Now let's continue. Today I'm going to walk you through what those patterns actually are. And I want to be clear from the start. I'm not a doctor, this isn't medical advice, and none of this is a magic formula or a promise. It's a look at how an entire culture tends to live, the daily habits and the way of life that seem to travel alongside their remarkable later years. Think of it as something to reflect on, not a prescription. Stay with me until the end, because the final one is the one researchers who study the world's longest living communities keep returning to. And it has nothing to do with food or exercise at all. Let's begin. The first thing you notice about older Japanese people, especially in places like Okinawa, is that they are moving, not in a gym, not in a workout, but constantly, gently, throughout the entire day, as a natural part of how they live. This is a completely different model of activity from the Western one. In the West, we tend to sit still for most of the day and then, sometimes, compensate with a burst of intense exercise. Japanese elders often do the opposite. They rarely sit still for long, but they also rarely do anything strenuous. Instead, their days are full of constant, low-level natural movement, gardening, walking to the shops and to see friends, cleaning their own homes, cooking, tending to daily tasks by hand rather than by machine. There's even a traditional way of sitting and rising from the floor, getting down to the floor to eat, to rest, to work, and getting back up again many times a day. Think about what that quietly is. Dozens of small squats every single day, keeping the legs strong, the joints mobile, the balance sharp, without anyone ever calling it exercise. This matters more than any workout, because it's sustainable and constant. The body was built to move often and gently throughout the day, not to sit for 12 hours and then punish itself for one. This lifelong pattern of natural, everyday movement is one reason so many stay physically capable and independent into their 90s. They never stopped moving, so their bodies never got the message to shut down. And notice, none of this requires a gym, a membership, or a single dollar. It's just a life lived in motion, rather than in a chair. And there's something quietly important about the nature of this movement too. It's woven into a purpose. They're not moving for the sake of moving, watching a clock, counting reps, forcing themselves through something they'd rather skip. They're moving because they're doing something. Growing food they'll eat, visiting someone they love, keeping their own home, making something with their hands. The movement is a byproduct of a life being actively lived, which is exactly why it's so easy to sustain for decades. Nobody has to talk themselves into gardening the way they have to talk themselves into the gym. This is perhaps the single most practical lesson here. The most sustainable movement isn't the kind you schedule and dread, but the kind that's simply built into a life of doing things by hand, staying active, and refusing to let the world be done entirely from a chair. The second pattern is about food, and it's less about any single superfood than about a whole way of eating. The traditional Japanese diet, particularly the Okinawan one, leans heavily on vegetables, fish, whole soy foods, seaweed, rice, and small amounts of many different things, with relatively little of the heavily processed, sugar-laden, oversized portions that dominate the modern Western plate. It's varied, largely plant-forward, light, and built around fresh, simple, whole ingredients. This isn't a diet anyone goes on. It's simply how people traditionally eat, every day, for a lifetime. But there's a habit attached to it that may matter just as much as the food itself. A phrase spoken quietly in Okinawa for generations, hara hachibu. It means eat until you are about 80% full, and then stop. Not stuffed, not until the plate is clean and you're uncomfortably full, just satisfied, and then you put the chopsticks down. This one practice quietly changes everything about a person's relationship with food. It means never overeating. It means the body is never overwhelmed by more than it needs, meal after meal, year after year. And it's made possible by how they eat, too. Slowly, mindfully, paying attention, giving the body time to register that it's satisfied before it's overfull. In the West, we tend to eat quickly, past full, until the plate is empty. The Okinawan approach, eat well, eat light, and stop at 80%, is a gentler, more sustainable way of feeding a body that has to last many decades. Again, not a diet, just a lifelong way of eating that treats the body kindly. The third pattern is about the mind, because staying sharp into your 90s is not an accident, and Japanese elders tend to keep their minds working in a way that many people, sadly, stop doing as they age. Older Japanese people often remain genuinely engaged with life. They stay social, involved in their communities, active in daily tasks that require thought and skill. Many keep up crafts, hobbies, games, and skills that demand real mental effort. They remain independent, managing their own homes and affairs rather than handing everything over. They keep learning, keep doing, keep participating, rather than retreating into passivity. This matters because the mind, in some real sense, follows the principle of use it or lose it. A mind kept active, solving problems, learning, staying socially and practically engaged, tends to stay sharper than one that goes idle. And there's something in Japanese culture that keeps elders woven into active life rather than setting them aside. They're respected, included, given roles and purpose, kept part of the daily fabric rather than isolated. That continued engagement, mental, social, practical, is very likely part of why so many stay so mentally sharp so late. Contrast this with a pattern common elsewhere, where later life can become passive, a great deal of sitting, watching, disengaging, waiting. The Japanese model suggests something hopeful, that staying mentally vibrant may have a lot to do with staying mentally active, and that a mind kept engaged is a mind that tends to stay sharp. The fourth pattern is one of the most powerful, and it's about connection. Because in Japan, and especially in Okinawa, older people are rarely alone. There's a beautiful Okinawan concept called moai, a lifelong circle of friends who support one another, emotionally, socially, sometimes financially, across an entire lifetime. People are placed into these groups young and remain connected to them for decades, so that by the time they're old, they are surrounded by a web of deep, lasting relationships. They are not isolated, they are held. This continues into old age in a way that's become rare in much of the West. Elders remain part of the community, part of family life, part of a dense network of relationships and obligations and gatherings. They see people, they're needed, they belong. This matters enormously because loneliness and isolation are genuinely hard on a person, in body and mind, and connection, belonging, and being part of something are genuinely protective. Human beings are built to be with other people, and a life rich in real relationships tends to be a healthier, more vibrant, longer one, where later life in the West too often means increasing isolation, living alone, seeing fewer people, drifting out of the center of things. The Japanese pattern keeps elders embedded in connection to the very end, and that steady human warmth, that sense of belonging, may be one of the quietest and most powerful reasons they stay so vital for so long. It's worth pausing on how deep this runs, because it's not just about having people around, it's about being needed by them. An older person in this kind of community isn't a passive recipient of care, waiting to be visited. They have a role. They're the one who tends a particular garden, who holds the family's stories, who watches the grandchildren, who is relied upon within their circle. Being needed is a profound thing for a human being at any age, and perhaps especially in later life. It's the difference between feeling like a burden the world is waiting out and feeling like a valued part of a living web of people. That sense of mattering to others, of still being woven into the give and take of real relationships rather than set aside from it, may be as protective as the connection itself. It gives a person a reason to stay well, stay capable, stay present, because other people are counting on them too. The fifth pattern is about the pace and texture of life itself, because chronic, grinding stress takes a real toll over the years, and traditional Japanese life carries a number of quiet buffers against it. Part of this is cultural calm, practices and values oriented around stillness, acceptance, patience, and finding peace with things as they are. Part of it is the unhurried rhythm of traditional life, especially in a place like Okinawa, slower, gentler, less driven by the relentless urgency and overwork that characterize so much of modern life elsewhere. Part of it is simple daily practices, time in nature, in the garden, moments of quiet, rituals like tea that build small pauses into the day. There's also a cultural comfort with letting go of what can't be controlled, and with accepting the natural course of things, including aging itself, with more grace and less anguish than the West, which often meets aging with dread and resistance. That acceptance is, in itself, a kind of peace. The result is a life with less of the corrosive, chronic stress that quietly wears a body down over decades, and more of the rest, calm and equanimity, that let a body and mind stay well over the long run. It's not that hard things never happen. It's that the culture offers ways of holding them that don't keep the system in a constant state of alarm. A calmer life, lived at a gentler pace, with more acceptance and more real rest, is simply easier on a human being over 90 years. And that ease may be part of what keeps them going, and going well. Here it is, the final pattern, the one researchers who study the world's longest living communities keep returning to. And it has nothing to do with food, or exercise, or anything physical at all. It's a Japanese concept called ikigai, often translated as a reason for being, or the reason you get up in the morning. It's the sense that your life has purpose, direction, meaning, something that makes you want to rise and engage with the day, a role to play, something to tend, someone to care for, work or craft or garden or community that gives your days a point. And here's what's striking about ikigai in Japan. Unlike the Western idea of retirement, the notion that at a certain age you stop, withdraw, and are done, many Japanese people never really retire from having a purpose. The garden still needs tending. The craft still calls. The community still has a role for them. The grandchildren still need them. They keep having a reason to get up, to contribute, to matter, right into their 90s. This may be the deepest reason of all, because a person with a reason to live tends to keep living, and living well. Purpose gets you out of bed, keeps you moving, keeps you engaged, keeps you connected, gives the mind and body a reason to stay sharp and capable. It's the thread that ties all the other patterns together. The movement, the engagement, the connection all flow from a life that still has a point. When researchers look at the world's longest lived communities and search for the common thread, this is the one they keep finding. Not a diet, not a workout, but a deep, sustained sense that one's life still matters, still has purpose, still has a reason. The tragedy of much of modern aging is that we take a person's purpose away. We retire them, sideline them, tell them their contributing years are over, and then wonder why they decline. The Japanese pattern suggests the opposite. Keep your reason to get up in the morning, and your body and mind have a reason to keep going with you. So let's bring it together, because the thread running through all of it is genuinely hopeful. Constant natural movement, a light plant-forward way of eating, stopping before full, a mind kept active and engaged, deep, lasting human connection, a calmer, lower stress, well-rested life, and a sustained sense of purpose. 6 patterns, and notice what almost none of them are. Almost none require money, or a gym, or a supplement, or anything you'd buy. They're not treatments or hacks. They're simply the shape of a certain kind of life. Active, connected, purposeful, gentle, and engaged. And that's the quietly hopeful message underneath all of it. The vitality of these Japanese elders isn't a mystery locked away in their genes or their soil. It travels alongside a way of living, and a way of living is something any of us can reflect on and borrow from, at any age. Not to copy exactly, and not because it's a guarantee of anything. Life offers no guarantees, but because the patterns themselves point somewhere worth going, toward moving more naturally, eating more gently, staying engaged, staying connected, slowing down, and holding on to a reason to get up in the morning. None of us controls how long we get, but how we live the years we're given. How active, how connected, how purposeful, how at peace. That's shaped in no small part by the daily habits and choices these elders show us. And it's never too early or too late to let a life like that quietly begin. So I'll leave you with a question worth sitting with. Of these 6 movement, food, mental engagement, connection, calm, and purpose, which one feels most missing from your own life right now? Be honest with yourself and tell me in the comments, because naming it is where change quietly begins. And if this gave you a hopeful way to think about aging and how you live, share it with one person you'd like to see stay sharp, active, and well for a very long time. I'll see you in the next one.